Boy, I tell you, I am really glad that back during the 19th century that we freed the slaves in Texas on June 19th. Truly I am, because it gives me one more federal holiday. Hi, how you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. Welcome to Chattin on the Porch, the hump day session where we're all getting together and hanging out and talking about the news and having fun doing it. I am known in social media circles as the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to my little soiree. I shouldn't say my little soiree. It's everybody's little soiree that is a member of Fedora Nation. We're on Rumble. We are on Twitter. And we are on that quaint little alternative social media site called YouTube. So if you haven't done it yet, hit the thumbs up button as you're coming in. I would genuinely appreciate it. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please give me a subscription to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. That would be a big help to me as I'm trying to grow this little concern of a channel into something nice and big. So I genuinely appreciate your help. Yes, TBA, we are indeed live. We are live. I promise you we are. So wherever you be out there in social media land, please do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button, share the link around. Let's get as many people in here as we possibly can. Let's have fun talking to each other on a Wednesday night as we try and figure out what the heck is going on in the world anyway. So as I say, my name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. Sometimes I am known as the wise guy in the wide brim. On occasion, I'm referred to as the fine fella in the fedora. But I am always above all else your humble host. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube. So, oh yes, it is very hot outside. That's why on my day off, I've done my best to stay indoors today. So, and I've had fun doing it. I've had a very nice, relaxing day off, and that's always good. So, we're glad you're here with us. Hope you've had a good day too. We're having a good evening, so let's get together and we'll have some fun and hang out and talk about everything that is the news. Very interesting day. So yes, indeed it is. Glad to, let's see, who all's in the house so far? Zippy is here. It's kind of cool today, but I've been lagging. Need to change the oil in the mower so I can mow for 4 hours. Good Lord, man. That is just straight crazy. Goodness me. That Fooker in that fedora. Yeah, that's me. That's me too. Some people do call. I might have to use that for when I'm reaching out to my African American listeners. A new term for me. That fucking the hood. That fucking the fedora. That him. No, I shouldn't be like that. No, it is Juneteenth. It's a holiday for some reason, which I think is important for some people. But whatever. So anyway, you get the idea. WWG1 is here. Good evening. How are y'all doing? Oh, goodness. Lots of news going on tonight. I'm glad you guys are here. And going to be a good show, or shoe, as Ed Sullivan used to call it. And lots to talk about tonight. So I want to go back, or at least start this evening, by going back to something that I teased last night. And I've been talking about this almost like it's a countdown, because really it is. And the Supreme Court is getting ready to end its term on June 30th, if they are to be believed. Now, when I say if they are to be believed, there have been occasions in recent years where the court has slipped past June 30th to hand down some of their rulings. However, I'm not so sure that's going to be the case this time, and I'll tell you why. Because apparently in Washington, D.C., they're getting ready for something fairly big. And I teased this last night, and Zippy's already with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It would take 2 hours if you bypassed the governor and wanted to pull my quads again. Okay, thank you for that interesting statement about how you have to mow grass. Bless your heart. But I think they're getting ready for something big in Washington, D.C., and I'll tell you why. Last night, I showed you a picture, and actually I need to apologize to you guys because it was from a couple of years ago. And I'm going to play this without sound just to give you an idea. This area you're looking at is on one side of the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. So here we go with this. And like I said, I'm not going to play it with any sound, but as you can see, waist-high fencing is going up. And this is all around the United States Supreme Court. Now, I absolutely agree with this completely. Not in this heat, it's not. So, yeah, you have my my sympathies. But as you can see from the video, yeah, they're getting ready for something. They know something's coming. When I say they know, well, TBA, you asked a really good question. TBA over on Rumble says, I wonder what decision SCOTUS has coming out next. Well, we're about to find out, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to go to an article from the New York Times, and let me get the date on this. I know it wasn't today. It was, when did they run this? Today. This is about 5 days ago. So this would have been Saturday or Sunday. Let me think. Today's 19th. 18, 17, 16. This would have been last Friday, okay? And this would have been about a week ago, but it's still, there's been no decision since Thursday of last week. So the information contained therein is more or less set. But if you want to know what kind of decisions are coming out, get ready, because, ladies and gentlemen, they're not putting that fence up for no good reason. So let's go to the article and we'll get started. From the New York Times, headline, Supreme Court's leisurely pace will produce a pileup of late June rulings. Even as the size of its docket has shrunk, the court has deferred a larger share of its decisions to the very end of its term. And we get into the byline on this article, written by Adam Liptak from Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court has been moving at a sluggish pace in issuing decisions this term, entering the second half of June with more than 20 left to go. That is not terribly different from the last two terms, where the pace at which the court issued decisions started to slow. Over the almost 2 decades in which Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. has led the court, it has an average decided 72% of argued cases by this point in the term, according to data compiled by Lee Epstein, a law professor and political scientist at the University of Southern California. The corresponding number for the previous court, led by Chief Justice William H. Rehnquist, from 86 to 2005 was 78%. Okay, well, that's not too bad. A little bit slower. But in the last 3 terms, the court has decided no more than 62% of the term's cases by June 14th. There are 2 main theories for why the court has started moving slowly, and they reinforce each other. The first is that the proportion of blockbusters is high in this term in particular. In the coming weeks, the justices will weigh in on criminal charges against former President Donald J. Trump, abortion, guns, social media, homelessness, the opioid crisis, and the power of executive agencies. Of the 23 remaining cases, and I'll admit that is a lot, perhaps a dozen of them have the potential to reshape significant parts of American society. The second theory is that the justices are not getting along very well in the aftermath of the leak of the decision overturning Roe v. Wade in 2022. The decision itself, the drumbeat of ethics scandals, the announcement of an ethics code that seems toothless, and the drop in public respect for the court. The justices themselves, whose party line has long been that they are a collegial bunch, have let slip a darker view in public appearances. Soon after the leak, Justice Clarence Thomas said it was, quote, like kind of an infidelity. Look where we are, where that trust or that belief is gone forever, he said. And when you lose that trust, especially in the institution that I'm in, it changes the institution fundamentally. You begin to look over your shoulder. That's a valid point. He made a similar point to that again last month, contrasting the current court with earlier ones. Quote, we may have been a dysfunctional family, but we were a family, he said of the old days. It would be inconceivable that anyone would leak an opinion of the court or do anything to intentionally harm one another. In her own remarks last month, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said the court's direction has reduced her to tears. Quote, "There are days I've come to my office after an announcement of a case and closed my door and cried," she said. "There have been those days, and there are likely to be more." On Friday, Justice Sotomayor announced a dissent in a case on a firearms law from the bench, a rare move that signals profound disagreement. The court has said it will not issue more decisions until Thursday, which is tomorrow. It will doubtless add days for decision announcements the last week of June, the court's self-imposed deadline for finishing its work before the justices' summer break. But it will be a challenge to issue all of the remaining decisions by then. The court has only once slipped into July in recent years, in 2021, during the coronavirus pandemic. The court's pace has slackened even as the size of the docket in argued cases has dropped to levels not seen in many years. So far this term, the court has issued 38 decisions in argued cases and is on track to issue a total of 61. In the 1980s, it was not unusual for the court to decide 150 cases in a term. This is the least hard-working court as measured by the number of cases since at least 1937, Professor Epstein said. The court has decided a handful of major cases so far, a pair of unanimous decisions allowing former President Donald J. Trump to remain on the ballot and maintaining access to abortion pills, a lopsided rejection of a challenge to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and 6-3 rulings on voting and guns. 2/3 of the court's decisions so far have been unanimous. That is characteristic of the Roberts Court, which tends to front-load those decisions. If history is any guide, there will be little consensus in the coming weeks. Still to come. So TBA, here's your answer. Still to come are the following decisions. Number 1, whether Mr. Trump will face trial on charges as he tried to subvert the 2020 election. Oh, that's real subtle, the way you frame that one. Number 2, whether members of the mob that attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021 may be prosecuted under a federal obstruction law. Again, really subtle. Whether emergency rooms in states with strict abortion bans must sometimes perform the procedure. Whether the government may disarm people under domestic violence restraining orders. 3 cases on how the First Amendment applies to social media platforms. 3 cases seeking to limit the power of administrative agencies. An effort to undo the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy settlement that would shield members of the wealthy Sackler family. And a challenge to a law said to make homelessness a crime. So there you go. Now, for my part, there are some cases that I am really, really looking forward to. And before we go any further, let me say some hellos to some folks. Good evening, Miss Gypsy. Good to see you. Good evening, ma'am. Glad to see y'all. It's true. It's not a lot of cases. I don't know. I don't know that I'd call them lazy and corrupt. Corrupt, maybe, depending upon. I wouldn't even call them corrupt. Not anymore. But we'll see. Anyway, that sets it up. Now, just to give you an idea of what the calendar looks like for the court, this is from their official website. Here's the calendar. Now, I'll put this up here. There we go. That's better. Tomorrow is the 20th. That is, the court will conference, and this dark blue means non-argument days. Usually that's an indication they're going to issue decisions. They have also added one more day on Friday to issue opinions. Okay? They've got one day here where they will issue orders. In other words, not necessarily decisions on opinions per se, but they will make decisions about what they want to do with certain cases. Do we accept it? Do we reject it? Do we take it? Do we schedule a trial date? Whatever. Which leaves the whole remaining week wide open. So for sure, they're going to hand down decisions tomorrow. For sure, they're going to hand down decisions on Friday. Now, does that give them enough time to put out 23 different decisions? We'll see. But for sure, some of the stuff they're about to hand down is about to be big. Hence the reason why the fencing is going up around the Supreme Court. To go back to that article from the New York Times, I would also submit one more thing. I mean, lay aside the leak over the Dobbs decision, which I agree with Justice Thomas. I mean, the court is a very unique institution in that everybody sort of understands there are rules inside the body, and one of them is you do not leak opinions. When we issue them, we speak as one court. We may wind up disagreeing on this, but we speak as one court. So I kind of get where he's coming from on that regard. The other thing is, look at it from a question of safety. I don't blame the court for doing what they're doing. I mean, we have reached the point in this country where if you issue the wrong kind of decision, you have the potential for a mob to show up on your door. I remember when Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed by the U.S. Senate a few years back, there were people literally beating on the huge wooden doors of the Supreme Court while Kavanaugh was inside receiving the oath from Justice Roberts, swearing him in as a justice on the court. You got guys like Chuck Schumer out there, threatening justices saying, well, you've reaped to the wind, now you'll get the whirlwind. You've got people protesting in front of their houses. You have an assassination attempt on Kavanaugh himself. I kind of get it. I don't blame the justices or the court for that matter for taking their time, maybe even to line up the security that they need. So I kind of get why they're backloading some of this docket. No, and I agree with this too. I agree with it. And there have been times the court has completely wimped out. The Obamacare decision was the biggest one I'm thinking of. WWG1 over on Rumble says there is an opinion and a dissenting opinion in cases that are split. What do you mean they speak as one? Well, what I'm getting at is one court. In other words, they may disagree on the final decision, but we are still the United States Supreme Court. We'll speak when we're good and ready. That's more what I'm referring to. Some staffer or somebody isn't going to leak this to the press and give people some idea of what we're doing here inside the body. When we speak, we'll speak as one Supreme Court. That's what I'm getting at. But yeah, buckle up, folks, because the next couple of days could get really interesting. Really interesting. And again, I hope I'm not overhyping this, but I'll tell you what, some of the cases they've got, the Missouri v. Biden is still hanging out there, which is the question about free speech and as it relates to social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, etc. Yeah, like the staffer that leaked Roe v. Wade. That's exactly what I'm thinking about, TBA. So you got Missouri v. Biden hanging out there. You've got the presidential immunity case with Trump. You've got the J6 case that's hanging out there. You have the Chevron deference case, which, depending on how the judges rule, could seriously put a crimp in the style of the administrative state as far as their ability to make law without having to go through Congress to do it. So yeah, there's some big ones hanging out there. You got an abortion decision out there. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. yeah, we've all been so bored. We really need something to liven up the political spice in America. Yeah. You know me, I have a very interesting way of putting things. So yeah, buckle up, folks. This is about to get really, next 48 hours from the Supreme Court perspective in America is about to get real newsy. As a matter of fact, depending on what the court rules on, if they issue decisions on Friday, odds are I'll be in here doing a live stream. Normally I don't on Friday nights in anticipation of getting ready for Saturday morning. But if the court does what I think they're about to do, I'll probably be in here Friday night doing a live stream. I'll let you guys know. Don't worry, okay? So, yeah. Next couple of days are about to get real interesting from the court's perspective. Okay, real quick commercial before we change gears. If you just happen to be stopping by, and I really hope you are, my name is Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. This is a live stream that we call Chattin on the Porch. We get together to hang out, talk about the news like we're doing right now. If you're not a subscriber to my Rumble and my YouTube channels, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please give me a big old thumbs up. It really does help with the algorithm. And Mr. Algorithm, he a funny fellow. He do like it when you get lots of thumbs up. So give me a thumbs up. Give me a sub. I would genuinely appreciate it. Would love to have you guys as subscribers to the channel. I would really appreciate it. WWG1, you are not just stopping by, but I appreciate you saying that. Anyway, so let's move on to something else that came out this morning. And this, to me, is fascinating. For some weeks and months now, everybody's been trying to figure out what the heck is going on in Joe Biden's head. I know it is not the setup for a joke. I'm genuinely serious about this. When I say what's going on in his head, they're trying to divine what kind of campaign strategy he's following, because people in his own party are looking at Joe going, dude, are you really sure you're on the right track here? Well, a young fellow over at Axios just penned an article, and it's so good. I want to run this past you guys because this might start explaining why he's doing what he's doing. Biden, that is. So let me get this pulled up. We'll start reading it, and then we'll talk about it as we go along. From Axios.com, top Democrats, Biden has a losing strategy. Now, that's interesting. They're coming out and saying that. The article is written by a young fellow named Alex Thompson. So here we go. Dateline, Washington. Senior Democrats, including some of President Biden's aides, are increasingly dubious about his theory for victory in November, which relies on voters' concerns about January 6th, political violence, democracy, and Donald Trump's character. Biden's core inner circle hasn't lost faith in that approach, the product of Biden and his longtime aide Mike Donilon. But that puts them on an island within much of the party about what will decide the election, as polls consistently have shown Biden tied or even behind after a slight bump following Trump's criminal conviction. Several polls have indicated voters are deeply concerned about democracy, but they are most worried, now catch this, they are most worried about inflation and the economy. They've also shown Biden's support slipping among key Democratic voting groups, blacks, Latinos, young adults, and union members, but the democracy message is resonating with older voters. Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, who has known Donilon for decades, told Axios his view is, quote, "In Mike, I trust." A Democrat strategist in touch with the campaign told Axios, quote, "It is unclear to many of us watching from the outside whether the president and his core team realize how dire the situation is right now and whether they have even a plan to fix it. That is scary." People close to the president told Axios they worry about raising concerns in meetings because Biden's group as longtime loyal aides can exile dissenters. Quote, "Even for those close to the center, there is a hesitancy to raise skepticism or doubt about the current path. For fear of being viewed as disloyal," a person in Biden's orbit told Axios, speaking on the condition of anonymity because of those dynamics. Quote, "There is not a discussion that a change of course is needed." Donilon, Biden's top political aide, privately has reassured people that voters will do the right thing in November by embracing democracy and rejecting Trump, according to a Biden aide who has heard Donilon say it. Quote, "Joe Donilon is a great president, and great presidents get reelected is a common Donilon refrain." Donilon, one of the most experienced and understated Democrat operatives in the country, has worked with Biden since 1981. He has argued that polls aren't fully reflecting voters' concerns about democracy. In response to questions for this story, Biden advisors told Axios, quote, "These people have clearly not heard from Mike or anyone on the team the president's detailed case for re-election. Donnellan articulated a nuanced version of this to the New Yorker's Evan Osnos earlier this year, saying that January 6th would affect the 2024 election much like 9/11 was central to the 2004 election. Quote, the Democratic Party didn't want to believe that it was a 9/11 election, Donnellan told Osnos. I've decided, this is Donnellan speaking, after that election, I would never be part of a presidential campaign that didn't figure out with clarity what it wanted to say and stick to it. Donnellan believes the focus will become overwhelmingly on democracy. I think the biggest images in people's minds are going to be January 6th. Oh, and I'm sure you're going to help everyone remember that. The Biden advisors told Axios, quote, this is Joe Biden's strategy, and Mike Donnellan and his top advisors are in agreement with the president. The polling shows that democracy ended up a top issue of concern for voters in 2022 and will be in 2024. Okay, let's stop here for a second. I want to talk about this. Okay, I can respect Mike Donnellan's position, and Donnellan, as you'll know from the article, is the chief strategist for the campaign. I can respect the idea of having a very clear message that you're trying to get across to the voters. And I understand where Donnellan's coming from when he says, I'm never going to be part of another campaign that doesn't clearly articulate why they should be elected. That said, however, if Donnellan genuinely believes this, if he and Biden genuinely believe it true that democracy and January 6th are going to drive the 2024 election just like they did in 20 and 22, that's a mistake. It's a big mistake. And the reason I think it's a big mistake is you got to remember something. 2020, the whole democracy thing didn't really come into play until after the election. So as far as 2020 campaign is concerned, democracy, the only thing that gets close to that is Biden's decency argument. Trump's not decent. We need to return to democratic norms, etc. Now, 2022, by that point, January 6th was very fresh in people's minds, and Biden and his team just drove it home. And the other thing that affected the fact that 2022 wasn't as good an election for the Republicans as it could have been was all the infighting between Kevin McCarthy and, the Trump loyalists in Congress, which we got a story about that coming up a little bit later as well. So I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this whole democracy, but they genuinely believe it. They think it's going to work in 2024. I've got some polling. I've got something here in a minute that'll prove that that's not going to truly be true. Well, let's go back to the article. Biden's inner circle is cohesive, but it's insular. Aides joke that there's an unofficial no new friends rule. The group in the inner circle includes First Lady Jill Biden's top aide, Anthony Bernal, and new Deputy Chief of Staff Annie Tomasini, low profile but powerful aides who have worked mostly for the Bidens since 2008 and are known for their focus on loyalty. When Tomasini was still head of Oval Office operations last year, she and Bernal surprised people by sitting in on interviews for Biden's campaign manager, a person involved in the process, told Axios. A source familiar with the interviews told Axios, quote, this was not a surprise. Anthony and Annie are part of the senior advisors group, and every senior advisor was part of the interviews. Despite having a year head start, a larger campaign team, and spending more than twice what Trump's team has spent on ads since early March, Biden's numbers against Trump have largely stayed the same the past few months, with a slight bump after Trump's conviction. During the ad campaigns and Trump's trial, however, Biden's average approval rating hit an all-time low on June the 9th of 37.4%, with 56.7% disapproving, according to 538. His current approval rating is 38.4%. Longtime Democrat strategist Howard Wolfson, who worked for former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg in the 2020 primary against Biden, told Axios, if the election were today, we would lose. Can that change? Yes. Is it on a path to do so? I don't see it yet. The stakes for the debate on June 27th between Biden and Trump are sky high, he said. Biden campaign spokesperson Kevin Munoz responded, "Everything this campaign is doing is for the election in November." He added, "Winning campaigns focus on voters, not the chattering class. We are heads down, doing the work we need to do to win in November." The angst among Democrats is about the larger narrative Biden's team is telling rather than its tactics, as it's poured money into field programs and zeroed in on key voters. Democrats close to the campaign told Axios that morale and management have largely improved since Jen O'Malley Dillon left the White House and joined the campaign earlier this year. Donilon frequently talks about democracy, but the campaign's most run TV ad so far is about Obamacare, according to an analysis by NPR and Ad Impact. And polls do show that there are many voters concerned about democracy after Trump tried to overturn the results of the last election. And on it goes a little bit more. Okay. I agree with you on this, absolutely, Robert. Let's talk about that. I've got a story here from Breitbart, and it goes right to your point. TBA says when Dems refer to democracy, they aren't talking about our republic. They're talking about their own system they own and rule over. Oh, that is so true. That is so absolutely true. Well, let me get to that story from Breitbart, and goes right to Robert's point, and it's a really good one. Gypsy's also made the same point. Others of y'all have too, and there is proof for this. Poll. Inflation and the economy top priority for Americans. Abortion is dead last. Article by Hannah Knudsen. We have the following. Inflation and the economy is standing as the top priority for Americans, while abortion is coming in dead last, said a June Signal survey that was just out. The survey asked respondents to identify their top priority, and a plurality, 27.9%, chose inflation and the economy as their top priority. Illegal immigration, another strong suit of former President Donald Trump, emerged as the second most important issue, with 19.7% of respondents choosing that. Now, catch this. Threats to democracy came in third place at 15.3%, but all other issues came in single digits. Just 7.8% chose healthcare as a top priority, followed by national security 6.4%, climate change 5.9%, gun control 5.8%, crime and public safety 5.4%. I'm a little surprised with that one. I'm a little surprised it's that low. And abortion is 4.1%. Folks, if this election gets down to a question of the economy and illegal immigration, Donald Trump's going to win this thing, because Biden has no answer. If Biden is able to turn this somehow into something other than what we really ought to be focusing on, he might yet survive. God forgive me that horrible idea. But yeah, no one's thinking about threats to democracy. They might be, but it's a very small amount of people. And I will go back to what Robert has said. When you're pissed off about inflation, when you go to the grocery store and you're trying to buy food, or you go to the gas station and you're pumping gas into your car, or anything, compare that to the last 4 years. Compare that to the 4 years when Donald Trump was in office versus the 4 years you've got under Joe Biden. It is no comparison. The standard of living, the quality of life was better during Donald Trump's 4 years than Joe Biden's. Oh, but look at all the statistics. Crime is down, and inflation's under control. Okay, you tell that to the American people. Go ahead. Try and piss down their back and convince them it's raining. Be my guest. It's not going to work for you. But this is where Biden, if Alex Thompson's story is to be believed, this is where they're at. They're going to try and make this about democracy. I just cannot see this selling. I can't. I mean, if you guys think I'm wrong, tell me, but I just don't see it. I really can't. I mean, are we worried about democracy when we're going to the grocery store? Or are we worried about, can we buy the eggs? Plus, I want to go to one other story, and this one's been floating around all day, past couple of days actually, but it's definitely worth talking about. And more this is coming up all the time. Semi-driver in deadly Colorado highway crash is an illegal immigrant who was deported from the U.S. multiple times, according to Immigration Custom Enforcement. Ignacio Cruz Mendoza was first on ICE's radar as far back as 2002. Listen to this. Man accused of wrecking a semi along a highway in Colorado last week, killing one person and injuring others, is an illegal immigrant who has a long history of removal from the United States. Ignacio Cruz Mendoza, 47, of Mexico, is facing reckless driving and homicide-related charges in connection with the June 11th crash. Mendoza was hauling a load of steep pipe on Highway 285 near Conifer when he lost control of the semi, sending it rolling onto its side as it veered off the road, Colorado State Patrol said. A load of pipe and angle irons spilled out of the semi and onto 5 other vehicles. One person was killed and another person seriously injured, said the Colorado State Police. Mendoza was not injured. Now here's the kicker. Mendoza was arrested and booked into Jefferson County Jail. Colorado State Police said he does not have a local address. A spokesperson for Immigration Custom Enforcement confirmed that Cruz Mendoza has a long history of removal to Mexico, stretching back as far as 2 decades. Immigration Custom Enforcement first became aware of Cruz Mendoza on April 2002 when he was arrested on local charges in Jefferson County, Oregon, ICE spokesperson said. Immigration judge ordered Cruz Mendoza removed to Mexico in May of 2002. Since then, he's been removed from the U.S. or voluntarily returned to Mexico 16 times. Yet he keeps on coming back in. And there have been more, and that's just one story. There have been more and more stories of late. Oh, have I got it here? Tell me I've got this here. Yeah, let's just go and get into this right now. Criminals who are raping and killing. Yeah, and I absolutely agree with this. I absolutely agree with this, Robert. Whoever hired him, I mean, what kind of documents was he providing? Was he providing any documents? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our border system's working great. 16 times he's crossed the border since 2002. But there have been other stories about, illegal immigrants raping and killing Americans. I got a story here. Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, was being interviewed on CNN. I want you guys to check this out.
And joining me now, Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being with us. Let's be clear, do a fact check here. None of the people affected by today's executive order will be able to vote anytime soon, but this move does come a couple of weeks after the president signed an executive order to limit asylum claims. Was this a political move to appease Democrats who were upset with that crackdown?
I didn't have this pulled up the way I wanted to, but give me 1 second here, folks. Won't take me long to find this. That's not exactly the one I was wanting. Give me 1 second here. Oh, yeah, here we go.
About the murder.
Yeah. Being interviewed by Jim Acosta. Listen to what old Mayorkas has to say. This'll just blow your mind and make your blood pressure go straight up. Watch this.
Murder of this Maryland mother that has been in the news. It's gotten a lot of attention. She was killed last year. An undocumented immigrant was just arrested in her death last week. He's suspected of multiple crimes since he crossed the border illegally in early 2023. Obviously, we know that the studies show that undocumented immigrants don't commit more crimes statistically than native-born U.S. citizens. But what do you say to critics who blame the administration for allowing something like this to happen? Yeah, obviously, this is something that you hear in right-wing media all the time.
Jim, first and foremost, of course, our hearts break for the children.
Then why don't you do something to stop it?
Family, the loved ones, the friends of the individual who was murdered, the woman, the mother. Jim, a criminal is responsible for the criminal act. The criminal who committed this heinous act should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, and forcefully so. That is my response.
The criminal committed the crime. Mind you, the fact that we've let a bunch of policies be put in place that let this murdering bastard slip across the border and kill one of our citizens. Oh, no. We have nothing to do with that. No. Good point. I tell you what, Robert Lowry is on fire tonight. Woo! He's bringing the heat. Yeah, the criminal committed the crime. Yeah, that's right. That is true. And under normal circumstances, I wouldn't give you any grief for it. But may I respectfully point out, Mr. Secretary, you're the one enforcing the administration's policies on immigration. You guys are the ones that the moment Joe Biden's hand came off the Bible from being sworn in on January 20, 2021, you guys undid every executive order that Donald Trump had put in place. You undid every policy that he put together in 4 years that had made the border way more secure than it had been in decades. So please don't give me this Pontius Pilate, her blood is on his hands, not mine. We have nothing to do with it. We didn't commit the act. No, you didn't commit the act, but you let the situation remain in place where he was able to do so. You didn't hand him a gun or a knife or a machete or anything else, but you let him across the border. You made it, or better to say, you made it easy for him to get across the border. And when he did, he made mayhem inside this country. Yeah, the Right Honorable John McGarvey. Good evening to you, sir. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Well, John, if it's any consolation when I watch videos anymore, I'm not sure if I belong to the human race because I'm seeing some examples of it and I'm getting really scared, buddy. Let me tell you. Ugh. But, like most everybody, I identify as human. Just saying. So, yeah, Biden's trying to convince everybody democracy. I'm sorry. It's not about democracy, not on this one. It's about the economy. It's about inflation. It's about border security. And every piece of news that comes out every day is reinforcing that for everybody. And I do agree with Democrats when they say that the upcoming debate's going to be extremely important. I think for so many reasons. That's why I'm trying to tell everybody. I'm trying to tell everybody. If there are any Trump campaign people that happen to see this video, do not let your boss take that debate lightly. Prepare for that thing as if it were the last debate he'll ever be in. Give it everything you got. Be smart, be cool, do your job, do it well, and you'll be fine. If you go lackadaisical on this thing, then you got a problem. I'm just saying. Make Biden have to be the one that performs so well. Make him have to overperform because I'm telling you, he can't do it. Don't get me wrong. I just like the State of the Union. Whatever they pumped him full of at the State of the Union, they're going to do it again for this debate. But I'm telling you right now, don't go to sleep on this debate. If you're the Trump campaign, do not do it. Don't do it. I know Trump doesn't prepare for a debate in a conventional manner, but don't go to sleep on this thing because it will come back to bite you. So anyway, all right, we will shift gears. to some other items in the news that I want to get into. And I should probably give you guys a warning right now. The next headline you're going to see is probably going to make your blood pressure go up. However, I do feel a responsibility as your host and as the leader of the electronic front porch to bring this one to your attention, because you're going to hear about it tomorrow if you haven't heard about it already. Fox News is about to drop a poll, and for the first time in their polling since October, they've got Biden with a lead. Let's go to the headline. Fox News poll, 3-point shift in Biden-Trump matchup since May. 32% give the economy positive marks, a record high during Biden's presidency. Now, I have to point out two things when I read that. Number one, what group of human beings is giving Joe Biden good, positive marks on the economy such that it constitutes 32%? I mean, no offense, but what planet are these people living on? Second thing is, okay, so 32% of people are giving Joe Biden positive remarks on the economy. That means 67% of Americans don't like what he's doing. But look at the way Fox News is writing this. 32% give Joe Biden top marks on the economy. What the hell? Anyway, let's get into this. Article by Dana Blanton, we have the following. Make this a little bit bigger for everybody. There we go. All right. Joe Biden is the front runner in a hypothetical matchup with former President Donald Trump for the first time since October as positive news on the economy inches up, hitting their highest level thus far in the Biden presidency, according to a Fox News national survey. Since May, there's a 3-point change in the presidential race. Trump was ahead by 1 point last month. Biden is up by 2 points today, 50-48. That is well within the margin of error. Beyond improved evaluations on the economy, a range of other events since May could influence small shifts in voter preference, including Trump's hush money conviction, Hunter Biden's gun trial conviction, a positive U.S. jobs report, and Biden's immigration and executive order. Biden's current 50% support is the best this election cycle. He hasn't been ahead of Trump since October 23, and that was just by 1 point. Oh, for God's sake, you all. Y'all over at Fox ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Not that shame enters into your thinking, money enters into your thinking, but you guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. You mean to tell me that the last time Joe Biden led this poll back in October, he was only up by 1 point, and now y'all are making a big headline news. Oh, he's got a lead of 2 points. Oh my God, Biden's winning. Oh God, y'all just give it a rest. We'll get to a little more of this in a minute, but it's just stuff like that just starts to make me, ugh. Robert, I saw your comment. Hang on, brother. I'm going to get to it. TBA, I saw your comment too. I'm going to get to that one as well. Back to this article that's about to make my blood pressure go up. Jeez, oh, Pete. There was a 4-point shift in the expanded ballot. When other candidates are included, Biden tops Trump by 1 point. Robert Kennedy receives 10%. Cornel West and Jill Stein get 2 points each. Last month, Biden was ahead by 3 points, 43-40. Trump does well with men, plus 15, rural voters, plus 17, white men without a college degree, plus 30, and white evangelical Christians, plus 46. Biden matches that strong support among voters over the age of 65, plus 15, women, plus 17, urban voters, plus 23, and white women with a college degree, plus 28. I don't know. I'm a little bit dubious of some of that stuff for Biden. The stuff for Trump, I can see that, but plus 17 for women and plus 23 on urban voters. Okay. Hang on 1 second. Sorry about that. Biden receives the backing of 73% of black voters. That's a bit below the 79% he had before the 2020 election, when he went on to win blacks with over 91% support, according to the Fox News voter analysis. The new survey shows nearly all partisans remain loyal. 95% of Democrats are with Biden. 95% of Republicans back Trump. The key is that independents favor Biden by 9 points, a shift from May when they preferred Trump by 2. While equal numbers of independents say leadership and integrity are extremely important in their decision, they are more likely to say Biden has integrity by 20. Oh, BS. I'm throwing the BS flag right now on that one. Independents are more likely to say that Biden has integrity by 23 points compared to Trump being a strong leader by only 11. More on those traits. Oh, no, I'm stopping right here. No. This is BS. This is absolute BS. Unbelievable. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it at all. And then Robert's not either. Yes, that's exactly it. They keep erroneously reporting that it's improved. TBA's like, oh, please stop insulting our intelligence, Fox. Yep, I agree. TBA says, I'm calling bullshit on that poll. I am with you. I am absolutely with you. This is a load of horse shit. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just absolutely ridiculous. Well, I don't know that he had a hand in the poll, but I tell you one thing. He's on. Yeah. All right, back to this thing. My face is getting redder with every passing second. Quote, the underlying demographic tendencies that have defined the race remain in play, says Republican pollster Darren Shaw, who conducts Fox News surveys with Democrat Chris Anderson. Biden has improved slightly with women and seniors, which keeps him afloat, despite significant reductions from 2020 in support from younger voters and African Americans. Trump retains a smidgen more of his 2020 voters than Biden in the head-to-head by 1 point and on the expanded ballot, and new voters favor him in both the two-way by 4 points and the five-way by 6 points. Voters who have not participated in the four most recent general elections are defined as new voters. 3/4 of voters say it matters a great deal to them who wins the presidential election, and they favor Biden over Trump by 5 points. More women than men feel like the outcome matters a great deal, as do voters ages 65 plus, then young voters plus 24. That could be a big help to Biden if it holds. While it's too early to look at the results among likely voters, Trump is preferred by 3 points over Biden among the 2/3 of voters who say they feel extremely motivated to vote this year. Among double haters, whatever that is, those who have an unfavorable view of both Biden and Trump, Biden is ahead by 11 points in a two-way race, and they go for Kennedy 35 and Biden 27 over Trump in a five-way. That's people who don't like Biden and Trump. Okay, so get ready, guys. Get ready. I just saw that this evening before I came on here, and I went, okay, I'm going to warn everybody. I'm not buying it. I don't know how they did the poll. I'm not sure if Rich Barris has commented on this thing yet or not. Hang on 1 second. Because Barris is my go-to guy when it comes to this sort of thing. Give me 1 second here. See if old Richard has looked at this one yet. He may not have. He may be waiting until Friday to talk about it on his show. Uh-oh. Yep. My boy Barris is already on it. Hang on a second. I'll show you his comments. Give me 1 second here, guys. I was wondering about this. He's got a couple of comments about this. And by the way, if you get the chance to do it, he's got a show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon on YouTube and on Rumble. Okay. Check him out. If you don't get to watch him live, pick up his live stream. If you're really interested in getting, as he calls it, inside the numbers, Barris is one of the best in America that can break down a poll and tell you why it's good or why it's bad. So please check out Rich Barris. But let's see what he's got to say already about this, because I was wondering if he's going to weigh in. First comment: preserving democracy is the number one issue for voters in literally no other poll except Fox News. That's a little bit weird. Okay, I hadn't seen that part yet, but okay. And here's where he's responding to Red Eagle Politics, who, by the way, if you're not following Red Eagle Politics, you need to. Red Eagle starts out with Fox had Trump up by 5 during the Biden surge and now has Biden up by 2. When many pollsters are showing movement toward Trump, throw it in the average, but they've been really schizophrenic this cycle. Barris's response: that's why we pay attention to aggregates and trends. Look at how schizophrenic some of the polls were at this same time in 2004, though the trend favored Bush, albeit slightly. Okay. I really recommend, don't get me wrong, I will make my comments on any poll like this I ever see. I'll tell you what I think. But I'm like you guys. I'm calling BS on this thing. They probably did. See, I want to know where they polled. I want to know what parts of the country they polled, and I want to know how they did it. That's one thing you can get from Barris. Yeah, and this might change everything. This might change absolutely everything. Here's a good question. Okay, that's good advice, actually. That's real good advice. Oh, let's see what we got over on Rumble. Let's see. TBA says, you want to know how great the economy is doing right now? Oh, yeah. McCutcheon's coming back on in August. We're going to have Robin back on here for sure. We're going to get into that discussion. You know that's true. Yeah, they probably did poll from downtown Philly. Out there in Kensington, no less. God help us. But yeah, just a word of warning. It's out there, guys. So just be advised. It's there. Which kind of gets us to something else that happened recently, talking about polls and elections. And I'm not so sure how I feel about this one. As y'all are aware, last night there were a few primaries that took place around the country. And one of them was in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Particularly, these were for Senate nominees and for the House of Representatives. And last night, there was a race in Virginia 5 with the incumbent Republican Bob Good, who was being challenged by a gentleman named John McGuire III. And I really don't know how to feel about this one. And I guess I'm kind of coming to you guys asking for advice. Because, I mean, this is the electronic front porch. And, I'm not going to sit here and, try and, put myself out there as the fount of all wisdom. Because there's just moments I get confused and I'm going, I don't know. TBA, I saw your message. Hey, we're glad you stopped by. Thanks for dropping in. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up on the way out the door, please do so. And tell your friends to come on by. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, there are moments I get a piece of information in my hands. I'm sitting here going, I don't know what to make of this. And that's kind of what happened last night in Virginia 5. Now, let me set this up. And I'd really like to hear your comments about this. Bob Good is the chair of the Freedom Caucus in the House. Under normal circumstances, Bob Good is a reliable, solid, conservative vote. If you remember, he was part of the group of 8 that led the charge to get Kevin McCarthy removed from the House. Consequently, he made Kevin McCarthy's revenge list. McCarthy right now is financing a whole bunch of primary challenges around the country against people who voted against him for Speaker, or I should say voted to remove him as Speaker. Matt Gaetz, Nancy Mace, Bob Good, handful of others. So yeah, I mean, under normal circumstances, Bob Good of Virginia is he's a solid guy. But Bob Good made them, I don't want to say he made the mistake. He made a choice. Let me put it that way. He made a choice that instead of endorsing former President Donald Trump in the Republican primary, he endorsed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, I was about to say made a mistake, and I stopped myself. It's not a mistake. He made a choice. Now, was it a smart choice? Well, maybe not. Was it his choice to make? Yeah. And I've got a video clip here, and I'll let him in his own words explain why he did it. You can't see his face, but it's definitely Bob Good who's speaking in this clip. Here was the justification that Bob Good gave at the time as to why he endorsed Ron DeSantis. Take a listen to this.
If I endorsed DeSantis in May, I thought, you know what, I can't sit by and watch and then regret that we nominated Trump, and we may well do it. And then if the lawsuit, the prosecutions and the courts, I'm fearful as he carries that baggage, because there's going to be some parts of our play Trump. But as the convictions, as the charges mount, I'm fearful. My ability to win, and I want 8 years. You're asking me privately. I didn't say this.
Okay. So he was worried, like a lot of people, by the way, that, the prosecutions, and this is before we knew how it was all going to play out. He was worried that, it's going to weigh down the ticket. I don't think we might be able to win. I mean, I like Trump, but still, you got all this going on. And should we really be renominating him? Okay. I know, and I apologize. It wasn't the best audio, but I wanted to try and put that out there. But that was basically his justification. The indictments, the trials, the negative press, the everything else. Maybe we ought to start looking to a new leader. That was basically the upshot of it. Now, I don't agree with that line of thinking, but it's his choice to make. And like I said, under normal circumstances, Bob Good of Virginia, Republican from the 5th District, is a good, reliable, solid vote for most conservative policies. He's the chair of the House Freedom Caucus, everything else. He voted to remove McCarthy. He got on McCarthy's crap list. McCarthy put this guy up, John McGuire, and you had conservatives just splitting sides on this thing. You had, MTG, she's on McGuire's side. You had other people lining up behind McGuire. You had Donald Trump endorsing McGuire against Bob Good. Well, okay, that's a fair question too. Was it his choice or was he told to do that? I don't know. I'm just saying this is what I've heard from various people. Well, last night, Kevin McCarthy may have gotten his first scalp in his revenge tour. Take a look at this. From Decision Desk, in the 5th Congressional District, John McGuire, with 95% of the vote in, has a lead of about 310 votes. I just don't know how to feel about this one, guys. I really don't. Did Bob Good get on the bad side of a situation by endorsing DeSantis? Yeah. I don't know if that would have been reason enough or should have been reason enough to work against this guy. Now, granted, Trump made the endorsement a while back, but then again, Trump's also endorsed Larry Hogan for the Senate in Maryland, and Larry Hogan is definitely not MAGA. He's definitely not, I would argue, definitely not all that conservative, and has even said, well, we must respect the decision of, Judge Marchand up in Manhattan. Yet Trump's endorsed him. So I don't know. I get the feeling this is one of those moments where we cut off our own nose and going to spite our own face doing it. And this may be true too. Maybe he got campaign contributions out of it. Maybe the money people behind DeSantis said, hey, we'll try and help you raise money. We'll try and do whatever. It could be. It could be. Good point. Good point. Yeah, we were having a running discussion earlier on Twitter about JD Vance. Good point. But yeah, I get the argument for loyalty. I understand that. Okay, but on the other hand, look, you're going to hold one bad choice against Bob Good. For example, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump went nose to nose, tearing and clawing at each other all through 2016. Ted Cruz lost, Trump obviously won. And as the years went by, that relationship got better. Okay, now I'm not saying that they're real buddy or anything, but there's a mutual respect. And Ted Cruz has come on to defend a lot of Donald Trump's policies and defend Trump in certain cases. Okay. Like I say, I'm not so sure I feel really positive about this result in Virginia 5. I really don't. Now, by the way, one more point about this. Under Virginia law, if the result of the election is decided by less than 1 percentage point, the candidate can ask for and they pay for it. They can ask and pay for a recount. If it's decided by less than half of a percentage point, the loser can ask for a recount, and the Commonwealth of Virginia pays for it. And if I were Bob Good, I'd absolutely do it. I'd ask the Commonwealth of Virginia, I want a full recount, and let's have it. So this one's long. This one's quite a ways from being decided. Fair point. I understand this. I understand this completely. I get it. I really do. So, all right, we got some other news items to get to. And by the way, did you guys hear Mayor Eric Adams' comment on Juneteenth today? I'm almost sure it was today. I haven't seen anything convincing me it was otherwise. But did you guys hear this? Oh boy. This guy is a piece of work up there in New York City. I tell you what. Let me put this up here. Just tell me what you think.
First Trinidadian to be a deputy mayor. First Dominican to be a deputy mayor. First African American to be the first deputy mayor. Second African American to be the chief of staff. Why? The first one was by David Dinkins. When you look at our administration, first Indian American to be a deputy mayor, first Filipino American to be a deputy mayor, first Korean American to have small business services. You look at our administration and you will see for yourself, we got all of this chocolate running the city.
we got all of this chocolate running the city. Here's my question. Is he going to get any protests over this? Is the New York Times going to call him out over this? Let's hear the rest of it. Let's hear the rest of it.
And you're trying to figure out why they're hating on me? Listen, folks, I came into office, we were spending pennies in women and black-owned businesses. We're now spending big.
Oh boy. Yeah. That's a great point. I was listening to Lionel shortly before I got on here, and he was talking about this very clip, and he raised a really good point, very similar to what Gypsy's doing right here. And he asks a very simple question. Okay, is the city being administered any better? Is crime being reduced? Is the garbage being picked up? We got all, these people of color in these different offices, which fine, that's great. Is it making the administration of the city any better? No, but daggone, we got all these people of color in all these different offices in New York City. Country of origin over qualification. That's a great way of putting it. Oh, yeah. WWG1, you're absolutely right. It is blatant pandering. Blatant pandering. We got this nationality, and we got this ethnicity, and we got this. And I can't understand why y'all hating on me since we got all this chocolate running around in New York City. Boy, let me tell you. Unbelievable. Now, a couple of more stories, and we're going to wrap it up for the night. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this one into chat on Rumble and on YouTube. And I'm going to let you guys peruse this at your own convenience. I'll talk about it a little bit. John Solomon has a story that he broke the other day over at justthenews.com. And it's just, I'm shocked, but I'm not. But I love it. I have the smartest audience on the internet, folks. If nothing else, we're the biggest collection of, well, never mind. We are a great collection of smart people. That's absolutely true. That's great. John Solomon's got a story over at justthenews.com. Fabulous reporter, by the way. And I have a feeling that that the Burisma Ukraine Hunter Biden story is not dead yet. So let me pop this up here and I'll read you the headline. We'll take a look at some of the lines of the story. The FBI has known since 2016 that Hunter Biden's team received nearly $120 million in Ukrainian money while Joe was vice president. Hunter Biden slated to serve on the board of new venture to be incorporated in Liechtenstein and funded by controversial Ukrainian oligarch memo shows. By John Solomon and Stephen Richards, the FBI learned as far back as 2016 that Hunter Biden and his partners had plotted to set up a new venture in tax-friendly Liechtenstein that would be capitalized by a whopping $120 million investment from the controversial owner of the Ukrainian energy firm Burisma Holdings, according to documents obtained by Just the News that have been kept from the American people for 8 years. The mega deal was not referenced inside Hunter's now famous laptop or during the 2019 impeachment proceedings involving Ukraine, but was instead part of a trove of 3.39 million documents the FBI seized from Hunter Biden and his business partners during an investigation of securities fraud nearly a decade ago. The cache of documents was recently turned over by former Hunter Biden business partner Devon Archer to the House Oversight Committee as part of its impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden's conduct. The new evidence shows the major investment plan was being built at the time when Hunter was serving on Burisma's board of directors and Joe Biden was still serving as Barack Obama's vice president in charge of U.S.-Ukraine policy. The memos state that Hunter Biden was also supposed to serve on the board of the new company called Burnham Energy Security, LLC, and it was going to be capitalized in 2015 by Burisma owner Nikola Zoljeski, who at the time was trying to get out from under corruption allegations in his home country. The Hunter Biden-connected Burnham entity was slated to get a quarter of the new venture's net revenues without putting up any cash, according to recent testimony to Congress from one of the partners. Lochevsky, the Ukrainian oligarch, meanwhile had committed to $120 million over 36 months to be invested in exploration and leaseholding improvements in the new venture designed to make Burisma a global energy partner, according to a prospectus for the project. Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, did not respond to a request for comment from Just the News. Zoljeski's top lieutenant, Vadim Podharsky, wrote in August 2015 email that it was important to his boss for Hunter Biden to be involved in Burnham Energy. Quote, "You mentioned to me that it's also you and HB who will be the founders of the LLC in Delaware. Cliff mentioned only yourself," Podharsky told Archer in August 2015 in one email obtained by Just the News. "For credibility, Ukrainian purposes, you both would be better." It is unclear what Podharsky meant by credibility, but Just the News previously reported that Burisma saw Hunter Biden's involvement on its board as a form of protection, especially from pressure by its own government, according to Archer's testimony for the House impeachment inquiry. Another partner, Jason Galanis, testified to Congress that he believed Archer and Biden were placed on the board to protect the company from Ukrainian investigations and prosecutions. Well, there you go, folks. There you go, $120 million. Unbelievable. In one sense, right now, it may not mean anything. However, it's just one more reminder of why Joe Biden should not be put back into office, among many, 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 many other reasons. So, there you go. Oh, let's see. What else have we got? Oh, by the way, I got to put one more story in chat. I'm not necessarily going to talk about it right now, but I found this today, and this article is great. It's from a gentleman named Joel Kotkin, who's written at a various bunch of places. We talk all the time about media and journalism here on the front porch. Oh man, I tell you what, this is a great article. I won't necessarily get into it here, but I found this and I thought I'd pass this out to you guys. Take a look at this. And like I say, tell me what you think. So this is a real good one. One last story, and we'll call it a night. And I guess, he played in a different era. And I didn't necessarily get to see him play as a kid. But the stories about what this man could do as an athlete were just extraordinary. And the world of baseball anyway, and up in Connecticut, I was thinking about you when I saw this. The world of baseball has lost one of its great ambassadors. This came out late yesterday evening. Willie Mays, the Giant star nicknamed the Say Hey Kid, has died at age 93. Willie Mays, the electrifying say-hey kid whose singular combination of talent, drive, and exuberance made him one of baseball's greatest and most beloved players, has died. He was 93. Mays' family and the San Francisco Giants jointly announced Tuesday night that he had passed away peacefully Tuesday afternoon, surrounded by loved ones. The center fielder was baseball's oldest living Hall of Famer. His signature basket catch and his dashes around the bases with his cap flying off personified the joy of the game. His over-the-shoulder catch on a long drive in the 1954 World Series is baseball's most celebrated defensive feat. Over 22 seasons, virtually all of them with the New York and San Francisco Giants, Mays batted .302, hit 660 home runs, totaled 3,283 hits, scored more than 2,000 runs, and won 12 Gold Gloves. He was Rookie of the Year in 1951, twice named Most Valuable Player, and finished in the top 10 for the MVP 10 other times. Yeah, we've lost one of the great ones. So there you go. Anyway, it's about 9 o'clock, and you guys have got a life, and I've got a life, and we've all got to get back to it. Unfortunately, I got to go back to work tomorrow. We're doing great, sir. We're just about to wrap it up, but glad you stopped by. Always keeping an eye on what Christian Watson's up to. Please do me a favor, as always, if you're not following Christian Watson's work, what the heck's the matter with you? This is probably one of the smartest people out there coming or going, and I mean that in all sincerity. There might be moments that he and I don't always agree with each other, but I'm always glad to hear his opinion, and his contributions to discourse in this country always valuable. So, Christian, a tip of the hat to you, sir. We're doing well. Glad to see you. And absolutely glad you're here with us. So, folks, with that, we're going to wrap it up. And I want to thank you guys once again for being here for Chatting on the Porch. Like I say, get ready, because about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the Supreme Court's going to start dropping decisions. So we'll see what happens. They should be dropping decisions tomorrow. They have also scheduled to drop decisions on Friday, which means I will probably be doing a Friday night live stream. Don't know yet, but I'd say the odds are pretty good. And we will be back also this Saturday morning at 10:30 to talk about it even further, because, depending on how the court rules, there's going to be howls of protest all over the place from both sides. So anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Hit the thumbs up on the way out the door. If you're not a subscriber to the channel on Rumble and on YouTube, please give me a sub. I genuinely appreciate it. We will be back at 7:30 tomorrow night. And in the meanwhile, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30.